Happy Friday, all. Welcome back to another podcast. Special shout out and thanks to all the veterans out there. We certainly appreciate and respect what you do. Welcome in, Deuce. How you doing?
I'm good. Tip of the cap to all the vets out there. Hardy, thank you from me as well. This is the reason we get to do whatever we want each day, basically.
Well said. Well, let's get right into it. Average week for us in our official picks. We're back to 500 at 36-36 on the year.
I felt good about them, too. I don't know what happened.
Tough weekend in the NFL for us. I really liked our picks, too.
In hindsight, I wonder if we would have been so high in the Broncos had we known that, in my opinion, their second best defensive player was going to be out. I think we made the pick before the Talib news hit. So maybe we wouldn't have been as strongly, but we got to own it.
That was the only one I wish we had back. I mean, I watched the end of the LA game or saw the highlights. Jeff Fisher goes for it on 4th and goal on the 10 instead of kicking the field goal when he needs 10 and gets the touchdown for the push.
It's fitting that Jeff Fisher screwed us out of an easy win because the Panthers were basically up double digits that whole game.
I absolutely agree. We're going to start in college this week. Give me your thoughts on the where the playoff committee has ranked the teams.
No surprises for me, really. I think we mentioned last week that it's going to be tough for some teams to leapfrog, specifically, in my opinion, Louisville, as they're going to have to put on a show each week, and I still don't think it's going to be enough. The interesting one to me is if Washington does go undefeated, I guess you have to put them in there, but their schedule is weak. The team that is sneakily moving up the board to me is Auburn. If they can beat Bama and win the SEC, they're obviously in. Even though they're sitting in the 8th or 9th hole right now, they're in a prime spot, I think.
I agree on Auburn, and I think it's similar to March Madness of teams bubble bursting. I know I asked you, but what happens? Auburn beats Bama. Auburn goes to the SEC title. How do you leave Bama out of the playoff?
I don't think you can, especially given the fact that, the Iron Bowl is a rivalry game. I don't think Bama is going to be favored by some crazy number. And they probably still have the best resume of anyone by a good amount. So I think they're in unless they lose some stupid game somewhere in between. I think they're in no matter what.
I agree. I agree on your sentiment about Washington's schedule. I have questions about another team. Are we certain that Michigan is a top 4 team?
I am not. I think we both agreed preseason that they were still a year away. They're good. I don't think that they have beaten the Big Ten elite teams thus far. I would not be shocked if they get left out. But just eyeball test, if that's what you're asking me, no, I don't think they're a top 4 team.
They go to Iowa this weekend for their first quote-unquote true road test, and it's November 12th. They went to Rutgers earlier this year and scored 78, but this is really their first true road test.
I heard a crazy rumor that someone bet on that game, picked the Rutgers side, actually.
They had to be concussed in concussion protocol.
Yes. So I was against Iowa last week with the Nits, but I actually think this is a tougher game for Michigan. I will say the Colorado win, to me, was impressive earlier in the season. People will say, well, they beat Penn State. Yeah, Penn State was kind of trying to find who they were. In my opinion, you would know better than I. The Wisconsin win is a pretty good one, and that was a really close game. So, the resume is pretty good, but something left to be desired, I think.
I agree. We'll find out a lot about them in 2 weeks when they go to the shoe. Looking at the schedule this weekend, we have 2 top 25 games that pit top 25 teams against each other. To me, this seems like one of those weekends where Washington or Michigan, maybe even Clemson, either get a major scare or one of them goes down.
It seems to be this time of year where it always happens. The schedule looks kind of drab, boring. You might want to install something in your basement or fix something in your kitchen, and then boom, something happens like that. I think you're right. I don't really have a feel for which one, but I think someone does get a scare.
Well, let's hop right into it. The first top 25 matchup, LSU coming off that Bama loss is -7 on the road at Arkansas.
I was shocked when you sent me this line. I think the wrong team might even be favored here. I have backed the Hogs, I think, maybe every week this season. We were right last week in a big way, and I'm hopping right back on the Brett Bielema wagon. LSU's coming off basically their game of the year. Hard to imagine they're going to get up for this one.
Completely agree with you. I think this is a perfect spot for Arkansas. Despite coming off that big win last week, I think LSU was in a physical battle with Bama for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Their game of the year, the one they had circled. Now they have to go to Arkansas and face a team that also likes to be physical.
Yeah, and it's not like LSU got blown out. They were in that game basically until 5 minutes to go. So it wasn't a heartbreaker, but they probably were mentally checked into that the whole way through. Has to be tough to get up for this one. I have a question about Brett Bielema. Why does he not get any looks or nods for some of these high jobs that are coming open?
It's a good question. We've talked about the past couple weeks about some of the jobs that are going to be open and who fits where. Bielema is an interesting name.
I love what he's done at Arkansas. Obviously, he did great things at Wisconsin. I'm not sure if Arkansas is a great job. I think it's a good spot. You could kind of do what he's doing now, but maybe you hit it on it right there. He, personality-wise, might not mesh everywhere. Like, I can't see him at USC or somewhere like that. But, why not at LSU?
Completely agree. If I'm LSU, I certainly sit down and talk to him.
Yeah.
I also think, to that point, that Orgeron's probably still in the conversation. He may get an interview, but I think last week went a long way in if he was coming back as their coach.
I think you're totally right. He'll probably be a candidate, but I can't imagine he gets the job.
Which adds to the spot for Arkansas, and I like them enough to make this an official.
Official.
Arkansas +7. The other top 25 matchup, Washington 8.5-point favorites hosting the Trojans.
Man, 3 weeks ago, this game looked like it might be a 40-point spread with USC reeling, but they turned the keys over to the young kid, and man, he looks pretty good. His TD interception ratio is 20-4. My concern with taking the dog here is that it's his first true road test. Washington has proved me wrong the last few weeks. They've looked really good. They've kind of slammed the door on some of the trap games I thought were lurking. I do lean USC, but I'm not totally there yet.
I also lean USC, but to me this is a game where Washington wins by 2+ touchdowns or USC wins outright.
Yeah, I can feel the same thing. I agree. The part that worries me too with taking USC, is that Washington will get up for this game. Their fans will get up for this game just because of the name that's coming to town.
This has to be the biggest game in Washington in maybe a decade, maybe longer.
It might be longer. Yeah.
USC's not a stranger to playing in big games, but you have to think Washington's going to try and make a statement this weekend.
Especially offensively, I think they're going to try to score a ton of points. Washington's weak link, in my opinion, is the back end of their defense. I do think USC can exploit that. They probably have the best receiver in the country, maybe outside of Mike Williams. So I think USC can score. It's a matter of can they keep up with Washington, which I have my doubts.
Completely agree. Right now, it's just a lean for me on the Trojans.
Agree.
Tonight, other top 25 games. Tonight, Florida State -21 at Boston College.
Florida State has been kind of whack-a-mole all year. I can't seem to figure out which week they're going to play well, which week they're not. The number seems kind of low. Boston College is really bad. We were against them last week, and we were really right about it. But I'm not sure Florida State's offense is nearly what Louisville's is. So, the Friday night games are kind of weird, too.
Not only that, does Florida State want to play anymore? After that Clemson loss, what are they really playing for now?
Yeah, you're right.
So I have no feel there. To Texas, they host West Virginia, and Texas is a 2-point favorite.
I kind of like Texas here. West Virginia is one of those teams that, to me, once they get that first loss out of the way, they sort of crumble. And I think Chuck is fighting for his job at Texas at this point every week. So every win matters, especially against a team that has a good record. So the small line, I think I'm on the Longhorns here.
I also lean Texas. I think last week was a pretty impressive win to me for Chuck Strong. Even though it was against Texas Tech, coming off that emotional game against Baylor, going to Texas Tech, that could have been a letdown spot, and they showed up.
I agree. Their defense had been shredded in previous weeks, and Texas Tech kind of has that offense that could have made them look silly, but they showed up in a good way.
Right now, Texas is just the lean for me, but this could become an official.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Oklahoma minus 17.5 hosting Baylor.
I was waiting for the Baylor collapse. It has finally started to happen. I know I was not going to said I wasn't going back to this well ever again, but I can't quit Bob Stoops. I actually like the Sooners here. I think the number's too small.
Completely agree. I think Baylor's checked out after that Texas loss. Their running back's been suspended. This is the type of game that Stoops looks good, and we'll come back in 2 weeks and he'll lose to Oklahoma State.
I think Oklahoma stuffs the run here. Their defensive line is very good, and I think they rack up some points and yards on the ground on offense and run away with this thing.
Official?
I'm good with the official, yes.
Oklahoma minus 17.5. SEC country, Bama minus 29 hosting Mississippi State off their big upset win against A&M.
Yeah, if Bama hadn't beaten LSU in Death Valley last week, I think I would actually like this line. I know it's a huge line, but Mississippi State coming off their biggest win in 3 years maybe, so it seems like a good spot for Bama. I don't know how motivated they will be to blow Mississippi State out, though, after last week. So for that reason, I'm going to stay away.
Completely agree. I have no lean there either. Noon kickoff in Indiana. They're 7-point dogs to Penn State.
So, first glance, I liked Indiana. Dug deeper, the Knicks are playing pretty well right now. I think I like Penn State here again. I've been hot with the Knicks lately. They killed Iowa last week. I think they're getting on a roll offensively, which is weird to say, but I think they're going to put up some points on Indiana, and I think their defense can limit Indiana what they like to do. So I'm good laying just a touchdown here.
I'm deferring to you. I've been wrong about Penn State the last 2 weeks. Both spots were letdown spots, and they showed up. Again, I thought this would be a letdown spot, a noon kickoff. All indications to me are could be another 2-touchdown plus victory, but I'm deferring to you. You've been hot on the Knicks.
That's fine. I totally understand. I lean Penn State here. I think the first quarter will be close, but I think their offense will start to get rolling again. I watched last week's game, and they look really different than they did 4 weeks ago. So I'm riding momentum here.
One thing of note that I did not know about their offensive coordinator, Joe Moorhead, he was the offensive coordinator that took Connecticut to a BCS Bowl.
Wow, nice nugget right there. I forgot Connecticut football even existed.
And so if I'm Penn State, I already have him locked up to major money.
Yeah, that's a great nugget right there.
I
bet you Chef Ed knew that, though. So.
Oh, the chef had dinner with him this week, probably. Wisconsin minus 26.5 hosting Illinois.
Illinois is really bad. But I'm not sure Wisconsin's offense is good enough to lay 26 to the Reflogs, so I'm out.
I've been wrong about Wisconsin all year. Another team I'll defer to you. They're the Carolina Panthers for me this year.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't even know if Wisconsin could score 27 points.
That's my concern. I don't think Illinois is going to score in this game, but it might be 17-0 Wisconsin final.
To SEC country in Athens, Kirby Smart gets a shot at Auburn. 10-point home underdogs.
I will, since we are in disagreement in this game, I will let you go first on this one. I want to hear what you have to say.
I thought Vanderbilt did a really good job last weekend in containing the Auburn offense, which has been impressive the past couple weeks. And Vanderbilt certainly doesn't have the athletes Georgia does on defense. Despite Georgia's struggles this year, their defense has been pretty solid. Kirby Smart could look at that Vanderbilt tape, and if they could replicate what Vanderbilt did, they certainly have the athletes to do to Auburn what Vanderbilt did. Auburn's running back is questionable. Their quarterback didn't start last week, Sean White, came in the second half, so they're banged up. So I lean Georgia in a low-scoring game.
The banged-up factor is what worries me from jumping all over Auburn. But I love Auburn's defensive line in this game. I think Georgia is going to struggle big time to gain yards and to score. If Auburn has its full complement of offensive weapons, I like them giving 10. I actually think they win by 15 plus if they play and they are healthy. I think Georgia has big time problems moving the ball against Auburn's defense in this game.
Well, this is one we'll certainly be against each other, so it'll be fun to watch. To College Park, Maryland hosts Ohio State, 29.5-point home underdogs.
They got absolutely destroyed by Michigan. I don't really see that much of a difference. I think Michigan's lines are a little bit better, but I think it's going to be a similar outcome. Saturday's forecast here, windy and probably the coldest day of the season so far. I think highs will only be in the upper 40s with the wind, so this number seems a little low. I'd actually lean to the Buckeyes.
I also like the Buckeyes here. Back-to-back weeks, Michigan, Ohio State is brutal for anybody, let alone Maryland. I like the Buckeyes.
Especially brutal for a team that's defensive line had both guys that are basically the size of me and you.
Ohio State official.
I can get down with that. Yeah, why not?
Ohio State minus 29.5.
There might not be more than 10 people in the stands there, by the way.
They'll all be tailgating for the Hearts.
Yeah.
OK State minus 12.5 at Texas Tech. At home. I don't have a feel on this one.
I don't either. Both teams are kind of struggling lately. You can see some points being scored, but I don't like either side here.
Clemson minus 20.5 hosting Pitt.
I really liked Pitt earlier in the season. Their defense really hasn't played very well in the last 4 or 5 games. I kind of want Pitt to be the scare team, but 20.5 isn't that big of a number at Clemson, so I don't have the chutzpah to do it.
I agree. Pitt's defense scares me to death.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech minus 14 hosting Georgia Tech.
14 is a huge number in this matchup. If you go back and take a look at the last 5 years they've played, they've been close games. But your boy Bud, I love in this matchup. I think he lives to stop the option. I think they limit Georgia Tech to nothing. Georgia Tech's defense is pretty putrid. And Virginia Tech's offense is better than it has been the last few years. So I kind of lean to the Hokie here.
Agree completely with your statements. I also lean Hokies. Fuente's done a great job with that offense.
Yeah, he's completely changed the dynamic of it. It used to be a run run first, run second, pass third, and he's made it pretty dynamic now.
Louisville minus 35 hosting Wake.
My gut was that this is a similar game to last week. I almost want to take Louisville. They have to run up the score. Lamar Jackson has to score 10 touchdowns a week to win the Heisman. 35 is a lot, though.
Louisville does have Houston on deck Thursday night.
Yeah, that's a good point. Short week, too, for the look ahead. So, good point. Nah, I'll stay away.
Agree. Texas A&M minus 10.5 hosting Ole Miss. Ole Miss without Chad Kelly. A&M's quarterback Trevor Knight appear doubtful.
Yeah, so total stay away from me. I'm surprised that at 10.5, the teams without their starting quarterbacks don't seem that different to me. But Ole Miss, you can't really. It's hard for me to back a team that might have packed it in. Either one of these teams could have packed it in by now. So
yeah, I agree. This is after A&M loses, they could just go into a free fall, as has been the case the past couple of years. Big Ten country, Nebraska coming off that annihilation in Ohio State, 7-point favorite at home, hosting Minnesota.
I had not watched Minnesota play yet this year, so I don't have a feel. I've been wrong in Nebraska a couple times. I think you have a lean, though, so I will defer to you on this one.
I do lean Minnesota. I don't know if Tommy Armstrong is going to play. If he does, I can't imagine he's anywhere close to 100% after what happened last weekend. And if he doesn't play, I expect Nebraska to try and control the ball, and this will be a low-scoring game. So I lean Minnesota.
I like it. I like your reasoning there.
Colorado minus 16 at Arizona.
I've been on the Buffs all year. I'm gonna stick with them here. I know it's a big number. I know it's a road game, but I've been beating the drum. I think they might be the most balanced team west of the Mississippi. Arizona, love myself some Rich Rod, but they're 0-6 in the Pac-12. They're getting destroyed every week. I think Colorado's defense is all over them, and I think they score 40-plus in this spot. I think they run away with this one.
Also lean Buffs. That defense should neutralize Rich Rod's attack.
Yep.
Washington State minus 14.5 hosting Cal.
Another team I've been wrong about a lot this year is Cal. I can't seem to pick the week that they're going to get crushed, so I want to like your boy Mike Leach here. I can't do it.
I also want to lean Cal in this matchup, but after last week, I can't go back to the well.
Yeah.
And lastly, Michigan minus 21.5 at Iowa.
Call me crazy, but something is pulling the Iowa thread. I don't know what it is, but something in me wants to pull the Iowa thread, but they just cannot score, so I don't have the balls to do it.
I've thought the same thing all week. I don't know if I can do it either.
Yeah.
So our officials, Arkansas plus 7, Oklahoma minus 17.5, Ohio State minus 29.5, and we'll keep you posted on Texas minus 2.
The only other game of note for me that I have a lean towards, it's kind of a weird one. The Tulsa Hurricane, 7-2 with some good losses, are going to the Midshipmen, who are very good at home, especially as dogs. I think Navy pulls an upset here.
Navy's plus 2 or minus 2?
Well, the line has moved, so I don't know what it currently is.
I think the last I saw was Navy minus 2. I did like that as well.
Wow, so it has moved in that direction. I know they were getting points a day ago.
We'll double check that. I can get on that as an official as well. We'll double check that one.
I like it.
Anything else in college football from you?
Nope, that is it.
To the varsity, where it appears we finally have a good weekend of games from start to finish.
Yeah, there's definitely some good matchups here. I count 5 or 6 that I'm definitely interested in a 10-hour couch session to watch these.
For guess the lines, you have a 4-3-1 lead. I did win last night. I said 9.5. It was 9.5. You had 8.5. So I take a 1-0 lead going into Sunday's games. We'll start in Jacksonville. They host the Texans, and I couldn't have been more wrong. This may have been the biggest disparity of guess the lines in our history of doing this. For some reason, I said Houston -6.
I said pick 'em, so
You got it exactly, and it's moved to Jacksonville -1.5.
I did not know which side to go, so I just split it down the middle. Playing the old Price is Right game, I guess. You love Brock Osweiler, apparently. Good Lord.
So obviously, I have no feel for this game. You give me your thoughts.
Man, both of these teams, they have weapons on offense. It basically comes down to the quarterback position for each team. One coach is safe. I think Bill O'Brien's not in any danger, but Gus is fighting for his job. He's probably already lost it. I want to like the Texans here. I think they're better on both sides of the ball. Lamar Miller is questionable with a shoulder injury, but he's had 10 days to rest. I am assuming he plays, and I lean Houston hesitantly.
I'm with you on whatever. I don't have a feel for this game at all.
We're not making a pick in this game, let's be clear.
We'll move up the coast to Carolina. They host the Kansas City Chiefs. I said Carolina -3.5.
I think Carolina -2.
You got this. It opened 2.5 up to 3. You take the 2-1 lead for the week.
Very interesting game in my mind. One of the ones that I hope to catch part of. I like Carolina here. I know I've been hinting at their run. I think they're starting to get on one. They went to the West Coast last week. The score to me, I thought they should have won that game by 20. Chiefs come into town. Spencer Ware's back. Justin Houston, it looks like, is going to make his debut. I just think this is going to be one of those slug-em games, running the ball. I think Cam makes a play late to win the game, a close game, but anything under a field goal at home, I think I like here.
Is Alex Smith in?
Have not seen yet. I believe he is going to play from what Schefter tweeted yesterday, but it is not official yet.
I also lean Carolina. Kansas City's played well, and Andy's my boy, but I think Carolina's in a good spot here.
They're very similar teams. They both have good tight ends. They both have good running games. I just like the Kelvin Benjamin factor on the outside more than I like the banged-up Jeremy Maclin.
For me, it's just a Carolina lean at this point.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I'm with you.
But could become official. I'll put a check mark.
Yep.
To the Superdome, New Orleans hosts the Denver Broncos. I said Denver -3.
I had a feeling Keith Talib would be out, so I went the other way and I said Saints -1.
You got it exactly. Opened 1 up to 3. You got that one.
It looks like Talib is out at least this week. It could be longer. He's still dealing with a back issue that they're not really sure what it is. Derek Wolfe broke his elbow. One of their very good, underrated defensive linemen, so he is out. I can't believe I'm saying this because I've pumped the Broncos all year, but I like the Saints in this matchup. Drew Brees at home, that offense usually hums. And I don't know about Trevor Siemian on the road in the Dome, even though the Saints defense isn't that good.
Yeah, this is one of the bigger home field advantages in the league. Agree with Simeon on the road. Think Derek Wolfe is a major loss. New Orleans could go balanced attack without Wolfe. The other thing is Breeze is more apt to step up in the pocket than to roll out. Without Wolfe putting pressure up the middle, he could do that. And he should have some time, which without Talib, Cooks could have a big day, as well as Willie Snead.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see who Denver puts, who Chris Harris covers. He's usually in the slot, but with Talib out, I think he has to play more on the outside, which means he'll see a lot of Willie Snead or Michael Thomas. So Brandon Cooks, if they move him around, he could have a monster day, like you said.
Official New Orleans?
I think so, yeah. I think this is one of my favorites of the weekend.
Saints -3. To one of the duds of the weekend, Jets host the Rams. I said Jets -1.
I said Jets -2.
You got it. It opened 2.5. It's dropped to 1.5.
I don't even know who's playing quarterback for the Jets. I think this game should be Bryce Petty versus Jared Goff. Just get it over with. I have no idea where to go with this one.
I'm with you. We're going to move on.
I like it.
Down the street, the Eagles host the Falcons. I said Falcons -1.
I said Falcons -2.
I got this. It opened to pick. It's moved to Falcons -2. 4-2 U on the week.
Your team to your honor here.
Seems to me like a good spot for Philly. You can make an argument they could have won the last 2 weeks. I'm one who likes the coach to be aggressive, so I have no problem with Peterson going for it on the 4th downs. Didn't love the play calls, but the issue is he doesn't have the personnel to be aggressive, so he needs to evaluate himself. Julio Jones could have a monster day, but I lean Eagles to the fact that Benny Logan should be back, which should help Cox out. That defensive line could put a ton of pressure on Matt Ryan, who's been hit the 3rd most in the league this year.
Could not agree more. I think the defensive line is going to have a huge day, as our new president-elect would say. I have not seen a status on Tevin Coleman. I do think he could be successful catching passes out of the backfield. I agree with you about the Philly play calling. I did like that they finally got Zach Ertz involved. I'm not sure.
Yes.
I know he was banged up early in the year, but he seems like the one guy that can cause a mismatch on almost every play. I love that he got involved. It seemed to open things up for Jordan Matthews as well. I think Carson Wentz has a bounce-back game here. I like the Eagles.
I lean the Eagles as well.
We have a rule, though. We can't make it official with our own team, so.
To your team, they host the Vikings. I said Washington -3.
I said Washington -1.
We tie. It's right down the middle. -2 opened. It is moved to 2.5. Stage is yours.
Interesting matchup here. Washington's got a really good offense. Minnesota's got a really good defense. Deshaun Jackson has already been ruled out for the game. Big loss, in my opinion. You'll see a lot more Jamison Crowder, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think he's one of the more underrated offensive weapons, especially in the NFC East. Oh, boy. I actually think I like Washington, just because I'm not sure Minnesota is balanced enough to exploit Washington's porous defense.
There's one stat that is talking me out of Washington, and that's the Kirk Cousins 1-6 as a home favorite against the spread. Washington on paper should win this game by a touchdown. Minnesota is reeling. They haven't done anything the past couple weeks to make me think they could turn it around. I don't like the offensive line at all. They have no running game, which I think you could run on Washington, but they don't have any semblance of a running back. I would lean Washington, but I wouldn't feel confident. It just seems like one of those games that something crazy could happen.
I agree. This is one of those games where Kirk could make that huge pick-six mistake. I wouldn't be shocked with Deshaun out if the corners sit a little bit more, squat on some routes, because he will throw them blindly. I think it is important for Washington to establish Robert Kelly, who's going to start this week early and often. But I agree with you. This isn't a game that I would feel comfortable betting on either way.
To Tennessee, they host the Packers. I said Packers -3.
I said the same thing.
Another tie. Open Packers -1. It has jumped to 3.
I like Tennessee here. Clay Matthews already ruled out with a hamstring issue. I think we might see finally just Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray blasting a team. I know Green Bay's been really good against the run. This is a weird spot for Green Bay, though. I think we could see the upset.
We've leaned Titans every week, I think. I'm with you again. But malarkey holds me back from an official.
I agree. Yes.
I don't even know what other questions to ask about Green Bay. Can they turn it around?
What does turn it around mean? Win their division?
You finish above 8-8.
Yeah, I think they could go 9-7. I think the North is pretty bad this year. I mean, let's be honest. There's no good team in the North. I just hate that Green Bay can't run the ball. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know what's going on there, but his accuracy is not what it was 2 years ago. I'm not sure what has happened. It's not just this year. It was last year like this, too. Their offense doesn't scare me, really. And their defense is just okay. I think that you can exploit them, especially in the secondary. So, man, 9-7, they can win their division, and I'll have fun betting against them in the first round of the playoffs.
Gun to your head, who wins the division?
Green Bay, I guess. Who else am I going to say? I'm not going to take Detroit.
Yeah, it's hard to live in a world where you think Jim Caldwell's the favorite to win the division.
No one can run the ball. No team in that division can run the ball.
We'll talk about the Bears next, but it's crazy to think if they win this weekend, they potentially could be in play for this division.
Smoking Jay.
They go to Tampa Bay. I said Tampa Bay 2.5.
I said the full 3 for the wagon.
I get this one. It opened 1. It is now Chicago minus 2.5.
Wow. Man. Have not seen an official listing for Doug Martin. He was practicing on Wednesday. That would be huge if he could play. I'm not holding my breath, though. Usually with the hamstring injuries, they wait the extra week. I kind of like Chicago here.
I was liking the wagon. I'm leaning Bears now. I've seen a couple articles that seem to go along the lines of a possible attitude change by Jay Cutler. A lot of the players have come out and said that he was completely different last week. Really thanking the offensive line, shaking hands, not being pouting in the corner on the bench. I lean Bears.
I think I do too. I saw that he publicly came out in support of his vote for Trump, so maybe he fractured the locker room again. I actually think you take Mike Evans away, right? He's probably the best weapon on the field. I think the Bears have more weapons here. Jordan Howard's looked pretty good. Alshon, he's a good piece. I think Zach Miller could have a big week. Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think I like the Bears too.
Just a lean for me, though.
Yep. No, I'm not going to like Smoking Jay.
Dolphins go to the Superchargers. I said Superchargers minus 5.
I said minus 5 as well.
Another tie, third of the week. So it's 4-3-3. Open 3.5 has jumped to 4.
I think we are going to disagree on this one, and I don't really have a reason for this, but I kind of like Miami. I'm not sure why the line is this low. I've loved myself some Phil Rivers. They've played really well this season. Something about this line is weird to me. I don't know what it is. And just for that reason, I lean Miami.
Yeah, I don't have a strong reason leaning the Chargers. I just like the way they're playing. I think they play hard every week. I know we went on the podcast early in the year after the first couple weeks and thought McCoy could be the first one fired. He's a couple plays away from being coach of the year.
Yes, especially some injuries. His 2 injuries away from maybe leading that division, or at least up there with Oakland. I love San Diego. I don't know what it is about this line that looks funny to me. Maybe Jay Ajayi can have another big game. It seems like they've found something in Miami with him. Miami just seems to win one of these games every year, and for some reason this looks like it to me. They'll probably lose by 40 now, but...
Staying out west, Arizona hosts the Niners. I said Arizona -9.
Am I reading off of yours? Did I say
No.
-9 too?
I have another tie for this one. Opened 11.5, jumped to 13.5.
I just looked at that and I was like, man, -9 is probably way too low. San Francisco is atrocious. That defense went from 4 years ago being one of the best that I've seen in a long time to I would not want any player on it. They just put their first-round pick Armstead on injured reserve. This one could get ugly. I don't think 13.5 is enough. I think this could be an absolute bloodbath.
I don't feel comfortable laying 13.5 in the NFL, but it's certainly not high enough in my eyes.
David Johnson, monster game here.
So we both lean Arizona. Good one in Pittsburgh. They host the Cowboys. I said Pittsburgh 2.5.
I said Pittsburgh 1.5.
I get this one, so we stand at 4-4-4. It opened 3. It is dropped to 2.5.
Oh, man. I have kicked this one back and forth all morning in preparation for this pod. I cannot decide who I like. Backs against the wall, especially with Baltimore winning easily last night. I want to pick Pittsburgh. But, man, I think that Dallas offensive line is just going to have a field day. I think Zeke absolutely runs wild. I think this is a close game. I'm going to lean Pittsburgh, and maybe it's just because I hate Dallas so much, but I'm going to lean Pittsburgh with a crazy late field goal to win by 1 point, 2 points, whatever.
I like Pittsburgh in this spot. I think it's a good spot. I think you hit it exactly that their backs are against the wall. I didn't get to see a lot of the game last week, but did get to see towards the end, and it looked like Ben was rolling back into Ben form towards the end of the game. So I think that you'll see him play well. The one concern I do have is Pouncey didn't practice Wednesday. I haven't seen his status since. If he's in, though, I do like Pittsburgh.
It would seem like Ben is the guy with Antonio Brown, Sammy Coates, Eli Rogers, that he could exploit that Dallas secondary finally, so he could do it, especially with Claiborne and Church out. I will say I watched the whole game last week for the Steelers. It did seem like they were protecting Ben the first half. They weren't letting him do much. Very quick drops, get it out of his hand. And like you said, in the second half, they kind of let him go a little bit. And he looked okay. He looked fine to me. I think maybe seeing that maybe allows them to free him up this week.
I'll put a check mark with Pouncey. If he plays, maybe this becomes an official.
Yeah, that's a key player in my mind too.
Sunday night, good one. In New England, Seattle comes to town. I said New England -5.
We were on the same page. I said 4.5.
I get this one. It opened 6.5. It has jumped to 7.5. I take a 5-4-4 lead with 1 game left.
I am very surprised that this game has gone over through that key number 7. I know New England is the Vegas number 1 team right now by a lot in their rankings that they do. But Seattle, I think, is also up there. I think they're in the top 5. I'm surprised that it's this high. I can't decide who I like. I think I like Seattle just because of that hook. But you would have to think that this is a game that Tommy has had circled and wants to make a statement on national TV and maybe put a finger in Roger and Richard Sherman's face here.
I've gone back and forth all week. I think Pete shows up in big games, gets his team ready. Is Michael Bennett in or out?
I think Michael Bennett is out, which is enormous loss.
Huge. I also think that I thought that Seattle is built running-wise, that they could control the clock and beat New England on the ground. But I think that's what Belichick's going to try and key in on, stopping the run and making Russell Wilson beat him. And Wilson's health concerns me still. The other thing I did see is the amount of plays the Seattle defense has played the last 2-3 weeks. They've been on the field a ton, and I think this is a terrible spot for them to be tired.
Yes, I agree. I usually like Seattle in a game like this for the exact thing you said. They'll control the clock with the run game. I wish they had Thomas Rawls here, but he is still a week away apparently. Christian Michael got out-snapped by the rookie C.J. Prosise last week. That is a concern for me. I think you just got to go with one or the other. Actually, I think Prosise is probably the better option at this point. Defensively, Cam Chancellor comes back this week, but I'm not sure that's a good thing or not. His first week back, and they're going to have to go against Gronk, Bennett. I'm not sure Seattle is equipped to face a team with the main weapons being in the middle of the field. I think they're a better defense when the weapons are on the outside. So, yeah, the hook scares me taking New England. If this was 7, I think I'd be on the Pats.
Yeah, I think this is one we'll keep an eye on. See where this line moves by Sunday night. And last game Monday night should be a good one. Bengals go to the Giants. I said Giants -3.
I said G-Man given 1.
We split it for our 5th tie of the week. It opened -2. It's dropped to a pick. So I get this week at 5-4-5 and guess the lines up for the year at 4-4-1.
Pretty ratty week win by you there.
A wagon-like win.
You just got up and down from an ass crack. I think these teams are very evenly matched. Been very disappointed with the Bengals this year. Purely on a line movement perspective would make me lean Cincinnati. But Cincinnati's defense, to me, has just been so disappointing and atrocious. I think Eli could have another really good game this week. I don't have a lean here. I just don't know what to expect from the Giants on a week-to-week basis, but I think the weakest unit on the field is Cincinnati's defense.
I like the Bengals in this spot. That week off for their bye. I watched the Giants last week, and I don't think they're very good. Obviously, they have great receivers. I don't know if Cruz is going to play. I think A.J. Green could have a huge night. I think they could get the running game going as well. Their defense is a worry to me. But one of these weeks we're going to get that Eli 3 or 4 interception game. I think this might be it.
It does seem to come at home a lot, too, which is weird. I don't think that stadium is very conducive to quarterbacks. I think the wind swirls in it. I can't go against you there. I mean, he's going to have one of those games. This could be it. Just fresh in my memory backing the Bengals and them just getting absolutely destroyed. Maybe that's what's blinding me here.
That North Division is also up for grabs. Gun to your head, who do you like to win that?
Oh, boy. I think after watching last night's game, I think I would still go with Pittsburgh. I don't think Baltimore is good enough to win that division.
I agree. Pittsburgh health concerns me, though.
Yeah. If they can somehow keep Ben, Bell, and Brown on the field, that trio to me wins the division by default.
I agree there. So we have Saints -3 as an official and check marks next to Carolina and Pittsburgh. Potentially 5 favorites and 1 dog. Very uncharacteristic for us, but this season has been so crazy.
Yeah, I think maybe this is what we needed here. A total change of pace for the week.
Anything else from the Football Association?
No, that is a wrap for the pigskin on my end.
Anything else you would like to discuss today?
No, not really. Pretty good weekend of sports. We haven't had a really strong one in a while, but You got your college, you got your NFL. The tour event is in Mayakoba. Shout out to Bills who's played there. That'll look good on TV, so if you're flipping channels. And then we got the association in full swing, so a lot on the plate this weekend.
A little early for me, but I probably will check out some college basketball tonight. Kansas, Indiana. And I believe there's a Michigan State plays somebody decent as well.
I totally forgot tonight was opening tip. Completely forgot.
Crazy.
So, great point. The plate is overflowing this weekend.
We'll be back early next week to discuss the recap, college football playoffs, get into the association a little bit. Next week will be a good week for the pod.
Yes.
Great job by you today.
Tip of the cap to the host as always for a great job.
Enjoy the weekend, and we'll tweet out and put on the blog the rest of the officials.
All right, buddy.
Take it easy.
See ya.